Here are my Premier League predictions for match week 11 for this weekend. We're already 10 games in this season so far, and we're currently in November. There's been lots of shocks and insane drama throughout this whole season so far, and we could potentially see another one of that happening again this weekend. Let's get straight into these predictions. We kick off the Premier League weekend with Tottenham Hotspur up against Manchester United. Now, Tottenham Hotspur have been on a bad run of form whenever they're playing at home right now. They only won one home game this season, and that was against Burnley back in August, though. Their home form has been absolutely atrocious recently for Spurs, though. But Spurs coming off with a win in the Champions League in midweek against Copenhagen. Mickey van der Ven, by the way, scored one of the goals of the season. And Spurs will have full confidence going into this game, though. Manchester United overall have been on very good form. People say we turned the corner, but in my opinion, I think we had like 3 wins and 1 draw. I mean, obviously, it was a low-par performance from Manchester United last time out as we drew against Nottingham Forest, which the performance was just actually so bad from Manchester United recently, you know. And obviously, United will come into this game having a full week rest of it. But it's going to be a very difficult game for Manchester United because Spurs always have a number against United, though. Because United haven't beaten Spurs since 2022. That was almost 3 years ago since we last beaten Spurs, though. Look, I would love nothing more than to smash these lot in their own ground, though. But, you know, United away from home, they always struggle, man. We concede goals all the time, and look, it's not going to be easy. Look, to be honest, I would take a draw against a decent Spurs side, but knowing Manchester United, we never do things easy, like, at all. So, I really hate to say it, but I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham, man. They're going to be good. Hopefully I'm wrong. Next up, we got Everton versus Fulham. Both teams are in the bottom half in the table right now. 14th place versus 15th place. This is going to be a tough one to call, though. Fulham have lost their last 4 Premier League games in a row, and they ended up beating Wolves 3-0 last time out. Everton, look, I haven't been convinced by Everton so far this recently. They did drew their last game, which was away at Sunderland, 1-1. Even though Everton have been on a very good run, you know, going unbeaten at the Hill Dick Stadium until they met Spurs. To be honest, I think I see Everton bouncing back here. I'm going to go for an Everton 1-0 win. Next up, we got West Ham facing Burnley. Both teams in the relegation scrap right now. Burnley sit 17th, West Ham sit 18th place. West Ham finally got their first win under Nuno last week against Newcastle. And for Burnley, look, Burnley, I think they are okay at times. However, they did struggle against Arsenal. We'll get on to Arsenal later on in the video. But look, I actually think West Ham can, you know, win this game. They'll win back-to-back under Nuno, to be fair. I mean, it is going to be tight, though. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to the Hammers. Up next, on Saturday night, we got Sunderland, and they take on Arsenal at the Stadium of Light. This is going to be a very huge game. Obviously, it's Granit Xhaka against his old club. We'll be excited about what's going to happen in this game. Arsenal, who currently sit top of the Premier League, and they could potentially extend their lead. However, this is going to be a big test for Sunderland because they're already 5 games unbeaten at home at the Stadium of Light, though. But they're coming up a very good and informed Arsenal side. Look, Sunderland, they had an impressive start to the season, though, because they're actually a very underrated team, though. However, whenever they come against the Big 6 clubs, you know, that's when their weakness can, you know, be known as. Obviously, Sunderland lost against Manchester United. They did beat Chelsea. Can they get a result against Arsenal? I don't see it happening in this one. However, I do think Sunderland will score because you never know, Arsenal have not been conceding goals in their last few games. But I think Arsenal will just about get it over the line. I'm going to go for score prediction of Sunderland 1, Arsenal 2. Up next, we've got Chelsea versus Wolves. also on Saturday night. Wolves currently sit rock bottom. They sit 20th place in the Premier League, who are still yet to get their first win of the season so far. Only with 2 points sitting in rock bottom. Wolves. Can't lie. Wolves are in trouble this season though. They even sacked Vitor Pereira last weekend after they lost to Fulham. Chelsea, the thing is, I don't even know what's wrong with Chelsea at this point. Like, they went from beating Tottenham to now drawing with Karabag in midweek in the Champions League though. I mean, Chelsea, they surely have to win this one. I mean, I would be surprised if Chelsea ended up giving Wolves their first win. But Chelsea have to win this. Otherwise, there will be serious questions to be asked about Enzo Maresca. I'm going to go for score prediction of Chelsea 3, Wolves 0. On to Super Sunday. First up, we got Aston Villa and they face Bournemouth. Both teams did lose last time out. Aston Villa lost to Liverpool and Bournemouth lost to Man City. We'll get on to those teams later on in this video. Look, Aston Villa did coming off with a win in midweek against Maccabi, I believe, in the Europa League. So, yeah. And Bournemouth had a full week rest, though. To be honest, it's a tough one to call, I'll be honest. I see some goals in this game, to be fair. I'm going to go for a score prediction of 2-2 between Aston Villa and Bournemouth. Up next, we got Brentford up against Newcastle. Now, look, both teams did lose last weekend. However, Newcastle lost to West Ham. They gave West Ham their first win in since August. Definitely, it's been a low par performance from Newcastle. Newcastle's away form has been bad. Newcastle's at 13th in the Premier League right now. I don't know what Eddie Howe's going to do to turn this one around, though, to be fair. However, Newcastle are absolutely flying in the Champions League. They sit in the top 8 in the Champions League and they could potentially qualify through to the round of 16, though. But in the Premier League, their league form needs sorting out, though. Away from home is going to be difficult. I mean, Brentford look actually decent under Keith Andrews, to be fair, even though they did lose against Crystal Palace last weekend. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. Next up, we got Crystal Palace versus Brighton, the M23 derby, as people would like to call it, though. Both teams did get 3 points last weekend, though. By the way, Danny Welbeck is on fantastic form right now. He's even got selected for the England squad. I'm very happy for him now. But Crystal Palace, I think Crystal Palace are very good when they play at home, though. And to be honest, I feel like they can continue that and maintain that unbeaten run at Selhurst Park, though. I'm going to go for a score prediction of 3-1 to Crystal Palace. Then we got Nottingham Forest versus Leeds United. Nottingham Forest, look, they did bring in Sean Dyche in. They are starting to, pick up some points, though recently. However, yesterday in the Europa League, Forest due to Sturm Graz. I don't know why. I don't even know who the hell is that, though, in the Europa. Nottingham Forest are in a bad position in the Europa League, though, and they're in a bad position in the Premier League, though. They sit 19th place. They did play well against Manchester United last time out, though. Forest haven't won a game since August, by the way. And I think they will get their first 3 points in the Premier League under Sean Dyche, though. However, Leeds, they can struggle away from home. I'm going to go for a score prediction of Nottingham Forest 3, Leeds 1. And finally, then we got the big one, the biggest game of the weekend on Super Sunday night. The 199th clash between Manchester City taking on Liverpool here at the Etihad. This is a big game, also known as, could be a title decider. Who's going to be in a title race, though? Obviously, both teams are 6 points and 7 points behind the league leaders Arsenal. It's a tough one to call, I'll be honest, depending on who's going to win this game. Both teams did win the last 2 games in the Premier League and in the Champions League, though. However, Erling Haaland, by the way, is on the form of his life right now, because he's been scoring week in, week out for Man City, though. And look, Liverpool, do I think Liverpool have turned the corner, though? Look, I'm not so entirely sure, but I'm not being convinced by Liverpool. Not just yet, though. I don't think it's going to happen in this game, though, to be honest. To be honest, Liverpool have an unbeaten record against Manchester City. They are 4 games unbeaten against them. The last time Manchester City beat Liverpool was in 2023, which was 2 years ago. Back then when City had Kevin De Bruyne, Grealish, Alvarez, and Gundogan was in the team, though. So it could be difficult for both sides. I'll be real here. But you know what? I'm actually going to go with a winner here, you know. I'm going to go for a score prediction of Manchester City 1, Liverpool 0. I know it could be low scoring though, but I think it's going to be a very tight game for both sides, so to be honest. And that wraps up my Premier League predictions for match week 11. Make sure to smash a like, comment down below your score predictions for this weekend. And also, guys, I will be live on Sunday for Manchester City versus Liverpool. So make sure you guys join up. And make sure you guys follow, like, comment down below. And follow for more content. I will be posting these on my other socials as well, which is linked in my bio. So make sure you guys click that up. And I'll see you guys in the next one.